Out of all the groups that was a part of Motown, the Temptations are arguably the best group coming from the label. This group gave us at least 3 musical legends who had topped the R&B charts. They are also one of the groups for that time periods that stood together to this day. Today's story is going to be about none other than the greatest group of all time, the Temptations. With that being said, let's cue that intro. Eddie Kendricks, born December 17, 1939 in Union Springs, Alabama. His parents Johnny and Lee Kendricks would move him, his 3 brothers and sister to Isley, Alabama. Paul Williams was born on July 2nd, 1939 in Isley, Alabama. Now Paul, he had music in his genes already, as his father Rufus Williams was a member of the gospel group the Isley Jubilee Singers. Paul would meet Eddie at elementary school. Now Paul, he was considered a prankster, or to some people a bully. Paul, he would dump a bucket of water on Eddie that resulted in a fist fight. Now both of them, they would become extremely close when they found out they both loved singing. They both would join their church choir. Meanwhile, Otis Williams, born Otis Miles Jr. on October 30th, 1941 in Texas. His parents, Otis Miles and Hazel Williams, would separate shortly after his birth. Otis' mother would get married and move to Detroit, Michigan. Otis would stay in Texas and was raised by both of his grandmothers until 1951, when he turned 10 and he would move to Detroit with his mother and stepfather. David English, or better known as Melvin Blue Franklin, was born October 12, 1942 in Montgomery, Alabama. Now, his mother would get by his biological father, who was a family's preacher. Now Blue mother would get married and move to Detroit, and Blue, he would stay with his grandmother until 1952, where he would move to Detroit with his mother and stepfather. Now Otis and Blue, they had very similar paths. Last but not least, Al Bryant, born on September 28, 1939 in Thomasville, Georgia. His parents would move to Detroit, and this is where Al met Otis, and the two will become close friends. As teenagers, Eddie and Paul, they had a group with their childhood friends, Kels Osborne and Raleigh Waller, called the Cavaliers. Now Wally, he would leave, and the group would move to Cleveland, Ohio briefly in 1956. At this time, Eddie, Paul, and Kels was only 17 years old. Now in Cleveland, they met Milton Jenkins, who would later become the group's manager, and he changed the name to the Primes. In 1957, Milton would move the group to Detroit, Michigan. The Primes, they would make their names known by performing cover songs at talent shows. Now the Primes, they would gain a lot of success, and Paul's then girlfriend Betty McClone could sing. And one day, Eddie and Paul, they would meet Florence Ballard, and she would sing for them, and she swiped them off their feet. They would tell Milton about Flo, and she would grab her 2 friends, Mary Wilson and Donna Ross. Now, let's have a flashback to the story of Richard Street.
During that time also, I was teaching a girls group how to sing, which the lead singer was my girlfriend, and that was Donna Ross and the Supremes.
Milton, he would call this new girl group the Primettes. Now around this time, Otis Williams, he had his own group called Otis Williams and the Siberians. The members was Otis Williams, Al Bryant, James Pee-wee Crawford, Bernard Plain, and Arthur Walton. The group would record the song Pesco Kid for Senator Bristow Bryant label. Now, sometime around 1958, Otis had been having his eye on Blue. Now, Blue's singing was very noticeable. It was very deep, and for them to be so young and him to have this deep voice, it was mind-boggling. And Otis, he needed him. During this time, Blue, he used to sing with David Ruffin and Lamont Dozier as the voice masters. Now Blue, he would also sing with Richard Street from time to time. Also, Blue would say Richard and David was his cousins. Otis, he would try to ask Blue to join his group, but Blue was thinking Otis was a gang member that wanted to rob him, so he would take off running. Now Otis and Blue, they got to know each other, and they really found out they have a lot in common. This formed a bond between the two that no one could break. Now some may know that Otis and Al was pretty tight, like they was best friends. And when Blue came along, it kind of really just pushed Al out the picture. Now Blue would join Otis' group, and he would replace Arthur Walton, and Richard Street would replace Bernard Plain. The group, they would change their name to the El Domingos, and their first song, the Presco Kid, got heard by Johnny Mae Matthews, who would sign the group to her label, Northern Records. She would change the group name to The Distance. 1959, The Distance would record their song, Come On, that became a local hit. This song also had Richard Street as lead singer. This song was heard by Berry Gordy, who was just getting his label up and ready. Now Warwick Records would pick this song up for distribution rights. Now The Distance and the Prime's rivalry started at a house party, and Al and Paul, they never got along, so we could kind of tell what went down here. Pee Wee Crawford would leave the group, and they would replace him with Albert Mooch Harrell. The group would record the song Alright in 1960. Now this song didn't get the same attention that Come On got, but following this, Johnny Mae would change the name to Otis Williams in The Distance and name Otis as the group's leader. Now in the beginning, the group took aspirations for other groups like the Isley Brothers, the Drifters, and Frankie Lyman and the Teenagers, to name a few. Otis, he would run into Berry Gordy, who basically told him that he liked their sound and to come check him out if they need a record deal. Early 1960s, The Distance would break up as Richard and Mooch would leave the group, and Johnny Mae would take the group's name and give it to Richard, who formed his own group called Richard Street in The Distance. Meanwhile, the Primes, who are the most popular group in Detroit, they never recorded any songs. Kel Osborne, he wanted a better shot, so he would leave the group and move to Los Angeles, California. So now the Primes and The Distance are disbanded. Eddie, he would go back to Alabama thinking his singing career was over, until one day he came back to visit. Now Eddie, he would receive a phone call from Otis, who really wanted Eddie to join his group. Eddie, being the loyal friend that he is, he said he will only join if Otis let his friend Paul join. Now the members are Otis Williams, Al Bryan, Blue, Paul Williams, and Eddie Kendricks. They will go by the name the Elgins. Otis, he already had an audition lined up, and he just needed 2 more members. Now that he got those members, they went to audition for Berry Gordy. Berry, he was impressed, but he didn't like the group's name, even though he would later use his name for a group later on. Now the group, they got their true name when a Miracle Record employee, Billy Mitchell, and William Mickey Stevenson, along with Paul Williams and Otis Williams, came up with the name that we all know and love to this day, The Temptations. Berry, he would sign the group to his sub-label, Miracle Records, in 1961. So in the beginning, Eddie and Paul, they shared vocals. Paul, he was the choreographer for The Temptations and the Supremes. The Temptations, they would release their first 2 songs with Paul on lead. These songs was Oh Mother of Mine and Check Yourself. 1962, Berry Gordy, he would assign the group to his other label called Gordy Records. Berry Gordy would bless The Temptations with the song You're My Dream Come True, with Eddie as lead. This song would reach number 22 on the R&B charts. Later that year, The Temptations would go on the Motown Review Tour. This tour included other Motown acts like The Miracles, Mary Wells, Marvin Gaye, and Stevie Wonder, to name a few. The Temptations would release 8 songs between the years of 1961 to 1963 with absolutely no hits. The group would adapt the name to no-hit Temps. Fun fact, Motown changed the group's name to the Pirates. They would record the songs Mind Over Matter and I Love You Till I Die under the name. Thankfully, the label decided to change their name back to The Temptations. The song Do You Love Me was originally for the Temptations, but Barry he couldn't get a hold of anyone from the group, so he would give this song to the Contours. Man, what could have been? Barry Gordy he was assigned Smokey Robinson to work exclusively with the Temptations in 1963. Smokey Robinson would write the song I Want a Love I Can See for the group that didn't chart at all. Although this song didn't chart, this song will be regularly performed by Paul Williams during the group's live performances. And also during this time, David Ruffin he was expressing to the group how bad he wanted to be a member. David he loved everything from the group, from the way they dress, they dance move, vocals, and most importantly, what the Temptations stand for. Now Al on the other hand, he had a family, and he worked a regular job, and he began to grow frustration to the group due to the group's lack of success. He began to make more money being a milkmaid than being a singer. So Al he began to grow frustration, and incidents began to happen more. One incident that would happen where Al he would get into a real heated argument with the group. And with him not wanting to come to rehearsals, plus with him getting into multiple incidents with Paul, this will have the group on edge. And one day during the Christmas event, Al and Paul will get into an altercation where Al will hit Paul in the head with a bottle. This will result in Al getting kicked from the group. Now another incident that happened that I didn't know about, and one of my subscribers actually let me know, so shout out to you. Al and Blue would actually get into an incident where Al would put Blue into a trash can. So with all these incidents, it was bound for Al to be removed from the group. But the Temptations would go back on stage and had Jimmy Ruffin come on stage to perform with them. The crowd liked his performance, and the Temptations were already looking at Jimmy to replace Al. Like I said before, Al had numerous incidents that happened, so it was just a matter of time before he was replaced. The only thing I can say is that Jimmy messed up. And where he messed up at is that he let his younger brother on stage. He gave David the opportunity to steal the show, and that he did. David will put the rest of the Temptations members on edge as they realized that they had a musical legend on their hands. And this moment forward gave birth to the Class of 5 era. Thanks to all my subscribers for watching, and those that's not a subscriber, thank you as well. If you like what you see and would like to see more, check out a few more videos. And until then, I'll see you on the next one. Peace.